What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bill's World. I am Justus General, and I'm joined as always by the legend in two games, no Pee-wee, Coach Muki Hawkins in the building. What's going on, Coach? How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. Not Victory Monday, you know. It's been quite a while since I guess we haven't had that. So a little different today.
A little over a month. Well, I mean, up to this point in the entire season, we hadn't had a non-victory Monday, or at least a non-victory at some point. But the Bills took a hard loss last night, 23-20, to the division rival New England Patriots. They fall to 4-1, and the Patriots jumped to 3-2, and obviously they get the win over the Bills, which goes into tiebreaker purposes if it should come to that. But hopefully, we don't think it should have to. But with the way they played yesterday, I'm starting to not so sure.
Well, you can't give up faith. I mean, this is one game. Nobody thought that this Bills team.
Is it one game move? They didn't play well last week either.
Yeah, I mean, but nobody thought that this Bills team would go undefeated. So, I mean, nobody. I mean, when you look at this Bills schedule, I mean, where the losses was coming from, possibly Philly, maybe Kansas City, but here you are. The New England Patriots came into town, and they wasn't going for any of that. They didn't want to hear any of that. They put their best 11 out there just as well as the Bills did, and it just really boiled down to one play. When you really look at the ebbs and flows of the game, it really boiled down to.
That's interesting. You say it boils down to one play. What was the one play you think it boiled down to?
39.
39.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think that I don't know what the down and distance was, but that play where Mac Jones was getting sacked in the backfield, I think it was a first down, and he broke the tackle and ended up hitting Diggs and got a first down. Yep. I think that was the beginning of the end right there. It was because it was it put them behind the sticks, but you let them make it out, and now they're just like scot-free.
True. I mean, everybody want to get and talk about, turnover. You can't turn the ball over, 3 times or whatever the case may be, and think that you're going to win the ball game. But despite all those turnovers and all the bleeps and blunders of that game, it still was 2020, and they kicked the ball off to the New England Patriots. And they couldn't get the New England Patriots off the field. I get it. Everybody want to talk about the turnovers and all that, the narrative. But at the end of the day, despite all of that, the game was 2020, and the defense could not get a stop. Bills called 3 timeouts. 3 timeouts. You calling timeout? You can't get a stop when you really need to get a stop. Now, make no mistake about it. Defense was balling. They came out with the right kind of energy. They were fighting back for the offense because the offense couldn't do nothing in that first half. They came out flat once again, not establishing any type of rhythm, turning the ball over. Defense is getting the ball back for them, getting after the quarterback. But how long would they be able to do that, right? And 2020, only thing you gotta do now is just get the stop that you need to get the ball back in Josh Allen's hands. Josh Allen again on the sideline watching the other team, and that's how you beat the Buffalo Bills. You make sure that 17 has a front row seat to it instead of him being on the field, orchestrating what he needs to orchestrate. Instead of him being on the field with the cape on, right? You gotta have him have a front row seat to what is transpiring.
Josh Allen definitely turned it on in the second half. I feel like every time Josh Allen has been asked to make it happen so far this season, he has. When he's been allowed to, whenever they just put the run game away and kind of went air raid, Josh Allen's put production on the field. Aside from the one throw last night, where it was. I don't think it was a bad read. I think that
it was a horrible read. He had no business.
Play just when you look at it from his angle, the dude was open. It's just the play just.
No.
But my point is,
was covered
wrong for the Bills throughout the night that led to them eventually losing. I mean, you allow 23 points, you think the Bills will win that game?
Well, on that specific play, Josh should have ran it or checked it down to James Cook, who was wide open. That right there, he had no place. You being a veteran in this league, making that throw right there, he should have either ran it or checked it to James Cook. You forced that ball over the middle like that. That's kind of like, I don't want to say rookie-ish, but you forcing the ball over the middle right there, and that guy clearly wasn't open. I don't know what made Josh throw the ball there, because he was not open.
So is that why the Bills lost?
You couldn't get stops. I mean, there's a number of things people want to play when playing it, but at the end of the day, the game was tied. All right, the game was tied at the end of the day. So it all boils down to the Bills getting the stop, and we all know that this has plagued this team for years. Can't get the necessary stops. You got to get that stop right there. What I mean, how many was it? Was it 2 third down conversions they converted right there on that drive? On the field goal winning, for them to kick the game winning field goal. How many third downs they convert? 2, 3? You got to get the stops right there. And in that moment of time, you have to understand what are they doing? What are they going to do in those situations? You have to have some sort of a pulse to understand what your opponent is going to do in that situation. Some sort of an idea where you could combat that and have a strategic plan to get them off the field. You can't get the quarterback sacked. Now, don't get me wrong. They were after it, but when it matters the most, when we need to get pressure on this quarterback, when we need a play to be made, whether it's an interception or a PBU, it's not happening. In Babbage, at this point, they were blitzing. The Bills were aggressive at the end, but coverage wasn't tight enough.
So do you put the loss on the defense?
Excuse me?
Do you put the loss on the defense?
I'm going to put it on everybody. But at the end of the day, you got to get a stop. If the Bills wanted to win that game, you got to get a stop, right? What puts the Bills in position right there to win the game? Getting the stop. When you got to get the stop. Period. Like, we can nickname it all we want about how many turnovers the Bills had against how many turnovers New England had. At the end of the day, with 4 minutes to go in the ball game, it was tied. It was 0-0. And it all boiled down to, can we get the ball back in Josh Allen's hands at that point? Couldn't do it because the defense couldn't get the necessary stop at that point. At that moment of the game, the Bills defense didn't deliver.
I can appreciate that perspective. From in my opinion, I look at the defense and it's riddled with injuries. And honestly, it probably wasn't that good to begin with until we see what Max Harrison looks like. We have a secondary issue, no doubt. Like, I mean, a very, very deep secondary issue. So from that perspective, I wasn't really dependent on our defense to win us really any ball games. So I look at it as your offense goes into halftime. What was it, 10-10? You scored 10 points a half? That is unacceptable. When you have Josh Allen as your quarterback, you got James Cook, who's developed into, I mean, really a top 5, top 3 running back this season. You got an offensive line full of dogs. You got 6 or 7 dogs that can go out and block. Big boys. And now I'm not even just talking about offensive linemen. You got tight ends that can block and catch. I just feel like there was absolutely no creativity in the play calling. The penalties, we kept shooting ourselves in the foot, and that's coaching as well. Just what was it? Illegal formation way too many times where there was nobody lined up over the tight end. I mean, this is stuff that should be handled in training camp. So I look at it from that perspective, and people were like, "Oh, it wasn't Joe Brady's fault." Penalties. And I get it. I'm not saying it was Joe Brady's fault necessarily, but the lack of creativity watching the game really pissed me off. Every time they lined up under center and they handed the ball into James Cook's belly, all but one time. Every time they lined up in shotgun, all but maybe 2 or 3 times, they threw the ball. And I'm just like, there's no misdirection. There's nobody going in motion. There's one person going in motion. Like, you know, like it's so mundane. It's like all right, we got this elite offensive line, elite running back, elite quarterback. Go out there and just make something happen. And I don't know. It's just I'm getting tired. With last week, it took them forever to get it going versus a Saints defense that was getting tore up by everybody. But the best quarterback in the world couldn't go there and shine because I feel like the play calling is holding them back. And that's just my opinion. You know, obviously I could be a bit emotional because, you know, of the 2-week lull that they have had. But I look at a Detroit offense where Jared Goff can't tie Josh Allen's shoes. But he's just throwing the ball all over the field. Doesn't matter who the offensive coordinator is. And I don't know. It's just I want to see more from this offense. If James Cook has to get 150 yards every game, I don't care. But make it happen.
Right. I get it. You can make it happen, but when will it happen? You got to understand, too, the first 4 games, this offense really has been on the shoulders of James Cook. That wasn't the case, you know, last night. It seemed like that wasn't the focal point.
Because they kept getting penalties and getting behind the sticks. They didn't have a chance to run the ball.
Yeah, but in certain situations, yes, they did. It was 2nd and 3. What was the play? 2nd and 3, they do a bubble screen and you get a penalty. You know what I mean? Like, why not just run the football right there? You know, stay ahead of the sticks. We getting too cute. Like it's college and you just throwing bubble screens. We're not
way too cute.
Vertical. You taking the ball out of Josh Allen's hands by throwing bubble screens and quick game.
And tight end reverses. All right, man.
The Bills did a flea flicker.
They did do a flea flicker. And it didn't look great, but it did get some yards.
But why? Why do that? I mean, I get it. They got the turnover back, and then the card says do that. But you don't have to do it just because the cards say do that play. Like, just get back to establish a rhythm. And another thing about that rhythm, like, it's hard. It is really hard to establish a rhythm when you got multiple substitutions in and out. There's different players in and out every play. You know, it's hard to get a rhythm, you know, when you're coming in and out of a ball game. And, you know, again, you know, the everybody eats thing is going to rear its ugly head because, again, everybody can't eat when the game is on the line. And I think that sometimes, I don't know if Brady gets caught up into that instead of sticking to the hot hand or making sure that your top guys are in the flow of the game. You know, make sure your quarterback is in the flow of the game. Make sure your running back and the line are in some sort of rhythm as far as the run game and ground control. But you can't do that when there's so many moving parts and so many multiple substitutions each and every play. Like every play, it's like 3-4 guys coming in and out of there. You know, and it's hard to establish a rhythm and it's hard to get in the flow of the game when you're doing that. And then still at times, James Cook is not out there in meaningful moments of the football game. I think they were down. I think they were down a score. I think they were down 20-13, and they were inside the red. And you put Ray Davis in. Now, no disrespect.
Oh my God! Yeah, I remember.
No disrespect to Ray, Ty Johnson, anything. But if I'm down, I gotta go with my top running back in that situation.
Man, you just paid millions of dollars.
You're inside the red zone. You're down a possession. You're down a score. I gotta have my top threat out there. You know what I mean? Like James Cook poses a threat when he's out there on the field. You know, he draws attention. You know, because if not, then he's gonna make you pay. You know, so I just, you know, at times taking James Cook out in the wrong situations, you know, that could have been a disaster, but the Bills still end up scoring on that possession. But you know, sometimes they'll get blank and do things like that. But you got to be able to establish a rhythm. Like you got all these receivers. You doing jets with Dawson Knox when you got Curtis Samuel. there? Why not just do the jet with Curtis Samuel? He posed more of a threat in motion than Dawson Knox. And then obviously it must have been repped out good enough because they fumbled the exchange. So all that stuff like was like just it's just too much early. The Bills, they got behind the sticks first play of the game. Getting behind the sticks. Then, they just, to me, I don't think they got a rhythm because they didn't establish run game. And the Bills are good when they are able to control the game on the ground. Wow, you'd be saying that right now, As a pass for games, it seems like the Bills have been a better offense when it's more ball controlled than air controlled. And we're seeing that again this week when you're trying to throw the ball more than trying to establish a run game. And Josh Allen had more rushing yards than James Cook yesterday.
That's crazy.
So they got to find a way. Like, it's week 4, week 5. Teams got book on you now. So they're not going to let you, do what you've been doing. You have to get, again, like you mentioned, creative in your play design and scheme to set things up. Okay, it looked like this last week, but it looks like this week. And I don't think that, they set nothing up. But sometimes it just seems like they just calling plays to call plays. But I want to know what you're setting up. Like when you call plays, you're setting something up, or you got a play that looks like, it's a setup play. It's a setup play. Every play that I design or I call, I have a setup off of each and every play as an offensive coordinator. So, I just think that, I need to see more setup plays. I need to see more explosive plays out of this offense. You got a guy like Josh Allen, we should be taking more shots down the field. I said that, in the beginning of the season, before the season even started, that unleash the arm. We can't keep saying that we ain't got the speed. You got to be able to take shots down the field to keep the defense honest and keep them, and you got to back them up. You got to back them up. So I think it's, you got to establish a rhythm with your guys that's more meaningful of an impact. Like you can't take I got to get James Cook in the floor of the game. I cannot get him off rhythm to get somebody else in rhythm. And my star running back is not in rhythm. Or my star quarterback, he don't have a rhythm because, it's too many substitutions. It's just too many substitutions early on. You got to let your guys establish a rhythm. Go with your formations you're going to go with, stick with it, and, make the substitution if the guy is tired. You know what I mean? But don't just be like, it's too many moving parts right now in this offense. And it's hard for, this Bills team right now to get a rhythm. Look out. They're turning the ball over right now because of that. When you're out of rhythm, guess what? You're going to turn the ball over. And that's just what the Bills did. And something like that, they haven't did in quite a while. Turn the ball over 3 times. I mean, I don't know when the last time that happened. 2 years at least. So, yeah, when you're out of rhythm, that's what happens. Mistakes are made because you're not in a rhythm. Once you're in a rhythm, you're a well-oiled machine. Everything is flowing right. And, man, it's well executed. You're moving things like perfection. No turnovers. But when you're not in the rhythm, things are out of sync. That's when it's a little type of pressure and man, bad things occur. So they got to figure that out on how to reestablish rhythm. Now, this ain't the first time that this has happened. They did it when Dorsey, was the OC too. I don't know how Brady is going to, regroup these guys and pinpoint some things, but everybody just simply can't eat. I mean, it's a good gift at times, but what's the curse? There has to be some sort of a curse to it, and maybe this is it. You not being able to get in rhythm because you're trying to allow everybody to, you're trying to spread the ball around too early. Let me just say that maybe you're just trying to spread the ball around too early. Keep the main thing the main thing. Let your dogs eat, and if you up a couple of scores, then you can let everybody eat. But other than that, you gotta let your dogs eat first, so you can get that rhythm. You can get some points up on the board, and give the the defense the confidence and need to go out and get the stops.
Well, we're gonna do a deep dive later this week because we need to establish who those dogs are. But in the meantime, 0-2 versus number 8, Mr. Diggs came to Buffalo and put belt to ass. Just did whatever he wanted to do. I mean, he had autonomy like MFer. I mean, the last receiver I can think of that did that to Apuka and Amon-Ra St. Brown last year. Those were the two, and I mean those are 2 top 5 receivers. Now I know Diggs is good, but that was unacceptable.
I mean,
why is it that the Bills play so horrible whenever Diggs is in the building?
I just don't understand the game plan with that. With that, I mean, this fiery guy is coming back here, and y'all know the type of competitor that Stefon Diggs is. Bills didn't match that energy
at all.
Bills didn't match that energy. Bills didn't come when, okay, Diggs, you bring your big bad ass up in here and see what you gonna get. They didn't have that type of energy, yesterday.
They were the hunted, not the hunters.
Right, absolutely. And my thing is this: Stefon Diggs was targeted 12 times and had 10 catches. The next person that was any close to that had 2 catches. Did y'all think about doubling? Diggs taking the ball away? Like,
at some point,
that's what teams did to us. That's what teams did to the Buffalo Bills. They took Stefon Diggs away. All right, beat us with somebody else. Would have made perfect sense to even try to say, okay, we're taking Diggs away on this play. See where May goes with the ball here.
It felt like Diggs knew exactly what the weaknesses to our defense was, and he exploited them every way he could. But we did not do the same on the opposite end. Like they just played their basic defense that they do all the time. It didn't work.
Prime example on that 3rd and 9. Like when you go back to 2 weeks ago when they played the Saints, and the Saints was just moving the ball down the field, and the Saints could have went up. I think the Saints could have went up if they scored, but he threw the ball behind Brandon Cooks in the end zone. First they were saying it was a touchdown, but it hit the ground and it got overturned. Right. Same exact play yesterday. 3rd and 9. Stefon Diggs. New England is in trips to the right. Stefon Diggs is the 3 receiver, which be the 3rd man in, right? Closest receiver to the tackle. Stefon Diggs. So I'm just pre-snapping, scanning the field. I was like, oh my God, they about to do the same thing that the Saints did last week and just run Steph up the seam. But he didn't have to run up the seam. He sat right in the hole right there and caught the ball at 4-yard mark and, beat Cole Bishop for the rest, basically. And it's just that right then and there is where the Bills always lose. Like, it's a bend but don't break defense. But sometimes that thing breaks. It breaks, and it breaks at the wrong time. But, they live and die with that scheme. They live and die with the scheme. You're not getting after the quarterback still. I don't know what's the reason behind this Bills team cannot get after the quarterback. Since the original cold front of Marcel Darius, Mario Williams, Kyle Williams, and Jerry Hughes, this Bills team has not been able to get after the quarterback effectively from, its 4-man front. That's the last time. And
they hit a wall every play.
With the cold front jerseys, they shouldn't wear those anymore
ever again. I'm canceling my order.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just basically what it is. Like, you're not getting after the quarterback. You can't get nobody off the field on 3rd down. Still, we've been talking about the same 2 problems that plague this Bills defense for years. Can't get the quarterback down when you need him. Can't get the stops when you need him. Can't get the other team's offense off the field in the clutch. So I don't know what the Bills have to do to fix that. Maybe they just need to probably take a more aggressive approach, blitzing. Like, You have to blitz.
They tried that. I think they knew what they needed to do. They needed to fix it in the offseason, in free agency, and in the draft. And I think they tried. We'll see what happens with Landon Jackson. TJ Sanders hasn't gotten off to the greatest start. We'll see what happens with that. Deion Walker looks good, but obviously he can improve as all players can. And I've actually started to think, and like as I've been watching film, I don't think our defensive line is the problem in the run game. I think our linebackers are not hitting the gaps the way they're supposed to, or running right into blocks. Like it's a lot of stuff. We'll definitely go on a deep dive later this week. But
it starts up front, so you can't say the linebackers. It starts up front.
Actually, you know what? When we do the deep dive, I'll have film for you because I got the all 22 and everything. But before we get out of here, I do want to ask you, could this potentially have been a good thing, right? Bills get bitch slapped and at home with all the pomp and circumstance that goes into this rivalry game, new unis, whiteout, the whole city is there. You're undefeated at home, longest home win streak, and the division rival comes into town, and you just lay an egg. Could this be the punch in the face that the Bills need to get it together? Because remember, at once upon a time, the Bills were a super sloppy team. They would just randomly fumble the ball or throw a dumb interception like 2 or 3 times a game. And then they just went 0 dark 30 and cut all of that out. We saw a regression last night. Could this be, maybe, they fell off the wagon a little bit, but now they're back in therapy and they ready to go for the rest of the season.
I don't know. Right now they in PC. Now the Bills are in PC right now, but you definitely got to lick your wounds, get back to the drawing board. But again, it's 4 or 5 weeks. Teams got book on you, and to me, it seems that they were a bit predictable versus this New England Patriots team. And make no mistake about it, Coach Vrabel is a hell of a football coach over there, and he has two other former head coaches on his staff. Doug Marrone runs the offensive line, and Josh McDaniel is the offensive coordinator. So you got all that stuff plays a factor, when it comes down to staff versus staff, and prep and putting things together, a game plan, stuff like that.
Real quick, I'm glad you said that, because later this week when we do our deep dive, we need to talk about the coordinators, and we need to talk about the fact that they keep hiring these coordinators with a lack of experience. Like, you have a roster that any coordinator would want to come to, yet we keep getting these guys who just moved up into the coordinator position or had 2 years of experience somewhere. You know what I mean? And I do want to go into a deep dive about that.
Mm-hmm. No problem, my guy.
All right. So, listen, I will say this. Losing hurts. Losing always hurts. You always want to win. Mm-hmm. The fact that the Patriots play so hard makes this an easier pill to swallow, right? Patriots played out of their minds last night, and they only won by a field goal. And we had 3 turnovers. And nine times out of 10, we win that game. And I'm not going to sit here and say I can take solace in thinking about that. But I will say that I know that these aren't the Buffalo Bills that you're going to see on a regular basis. This was a bad night. For whatever reason, they just didn't come out prepared. The only thing that scares me is that this is now 3 weeks in a row where the offense really just haven't looked like a complete offense yet.
Because you trying to feed everybody early in the game. You can't do that. Like, we don't know what's the game plan. All right, who's going to be the guy this week, because we so caught up on the everybody eat thing, and everybody ain't eat.
Remember Belichick, even in New England, obviously Gronkowski in the later years, but earlier in the year, you didn't know who was going to be the focal point. It could have been Brown, it could have been Edelman, it could have been Amendola. They would change up the game plan every single week. a random running back, Noah Gray, you would just lose his mind and go for 175 or something. Like, if you're gonna have an everybody's like mindset, at least focus on somebody to get them going. Like you said, like you need to get your dogs going before you can just start spreading the ball around to everybody.
Yeah, you can't take. If James Cook got 13 carries for 100 yards, we're gonna stop giving him the ball because of what's the reason to stop giving him the ball? I mean, like, is he on the pitch count for the season? You know, so I don't know.
You remember what Joe Brady said? He said we got to stop. We want James Cook for the entire season and the postseason. So we got to give Ray Davis the ball more. You remember he said that?
Yeah, but so you would rather lose to do that?
Exactly. Situational football is so important.
I mean, he can get hurt on the first carry of the game. You know what I mean? So we're gonna say he exceeded his snap total. So screw winning the game. We're gonna put him on the bench because we don't want him to get too many snaps this week. I don't understand that. Like, I'm trying to win the game. I gotta have my best players out there to do that. You know, and you know, again, we're paying. You're getting paid $13 million. You know, you gotta get out there. You know, you gotta play. There's no reason for James Cook not to be out there. They weren't saying that to Thurman Thomas when he was the running back. Man, feed your guys, man. Yeah. Feed your guys. Go up 21-7 or 21-zip, and then let everybody eat then. You know, but you let your dogs be dogs first. You know what I mean? Let's stop nicknaming this and stop playing around. We know who the dogs is on this team. Feed your dogs first. Let your dogs eat, and then everybody else to eat.
Yeah. You know? All right, real quick. I know we said we'd do a half hour, but we got some comments in the chat, and somebody actually does bring up a really good point. That, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of just like, not that I was anywhere close to the edge because we have Josh Allen, but it made me stop looking at the cliff, right? We have two players still not back from suspension. Oliver and Milano are both hurt. That is a very fair point, right? This defense is not even complete yet. And not only that, but Max Harrison is not back from injury yet. You know what I mean? So we do have some pieces that can come back and make a major impact on this team. And maybe I don't think I'm being harsh, but because, you know, we still need to win a Super Bowl, and playing like we played last night is not going to do it. But I will say that, although I know you feel like you put it on the whole team, I'm not going to necessarily put it on the defense, because I think if your defense allows a team to score 23 points, a Josh Allen offense should win that game. Not 10 times out of 10, the Josh Allen offense should win that game. They accidentally fell in at 30 points last week versus the Saints. So I think that situationally, yes, they could have been better, but the total output of effort, I feel like I would put most of the blame on the offense if I had to pick.
The game was tied 2020. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. When I look at it, despite all of that, despite how bad the offense played, it was 2020. So what do you want the Bills' offense to do when it's 2020? And they on the sideline. What do you want to happen? What do you want to happen when it's 2020 and Josh Allen is on the sideline and it's 4 minutes to go? What do you want to happen?
It shouldn't have been 2020.
What do you want to happen? Answer my question.
If you ask me what came first, the chicken or the egg,
answer my question,
when it wasn't supposed to exist to begin with,
answer my question. I'm going to just ask you a simple football question. It's
Josh Allen can't do anything if he's on the bench if the game is tied.
Okay, so what needs to happen? What do you want to happen?
You need the defense to get a stop.
Okay, my point exactly. Period.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
We're not blaming the 3 turnovers in the first half or why they lost it in the second half.
But hold on, let me ask you a question. Are you satisfied with a Josh Allen-led offense going into the fourth or leaving the fourth quarter with 20 points?
I mean, I felt that they got in the rhythm. They went down there and scored. When
Well,
they
I
look,
don't feel like
look
the
the
offense
thing, the
necessarily
thing, the
struggled.
thing, the thing with me with them offensively, I think that it may be a little arrogance on Brady's behalf on why he calls the plays he calls at certain periods of the game. You know, I think it might be in some sort of arrogance, you know, that goes with that. But I mean, if the Bills, to me, I think that they feel that they okay, let's stop playing, let's turn it on, right? When they come right out of halftime and went right down the field and scored like it was no problem, went right down the field and scored, and then they just get conservative all over again. Then now when they got to go down here and score because it's in the fourth quarter now, you can't be playing around. They go right down and score again. So okay, now they are starting to establish some sort of rhythm because they know that they dogs have to make plays in order for them to score points. So right, they get down there, they tie the game up, don't get the ball again. You know what I mean? But yeah, you can't. That's why I blame everybody because you shouldn't want to get off to late starts. You got off to a late start last week and it almost cost you. This week it cost you, you know, and it still exposes the problems defensively. You can't get a stop when we need it the most. Period. It's the same thing that's been going on. It has not changed. It has not changed. And for Stefon Diggs to come in here, and we all know how he's coming in here, and for that, for that defense not to.
Is that me or okay? I think that's me, Muki. All right. So okay, or that might be me. Hold on. Yeah, that's definitely Mookie. Okay. I is he back? So I think I understand what Mookie's saying. He's saying that the defense has to get a stop in that position. Tie game, 20 points each. 4 minutes left. You got all three timeouts. I agree. You would love for your defense to be able to get a stop in that moment. What I'm saying is, and we'll talk about this later as we go into a deep dive later this week. Make sure you guys check that out. Stay tuned for that. I feel like I don't trust the defense. I don't trust Babbage. I don't necessarily trust the talent that's out there all the way in the secondary, especially on the back end, especially. So I wasn't necessarily counting on them to get a stop. I don't know that I would count on them to get a stop in any situation. It would be nice if I feel like the defense getting an important stop is like icing on the cake, right? And then Josh Allen is the batter, the sugar, the fruit that goes in the middle. Josh Allen is everything on the cake. And then, you know, you get like the sprinkles and the candles and stuff. That's James Cook in the offensive line, right? Everything else that makes the cake good. But Josh Allen is like, I mean, he's the loaf. So I don't necessarily think the defense is worthy of being depended on. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer aren't walking through those doors. Actually, they are because the secondary is so bad. We had to bring them back. I can't believe Bean went into the season thinking that this was going to be a good idea. I don't know. AJ Klein was really, 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 really horrible and then just randomly became good. So perhaps it could work. Perhaps. I don't think it will. I could 1,000,000% see our safeties getting burned and that costing us. So part of me not being as enthusiastic about the defense. Yeah, when you pay guys, you're going to be limited in other places. No, I understand. I get the perspective from you're still paying for the Diggs thing, right? You're still paying for Von Miller, right? You're still, I get it. Cap hell, I understand. There are currently safety free agents that you could find money for. You're not playing at all. You're not collecting any money, bro. Here, come take this $8 million. Help us win a Super Bowl. I don't know. I just feel like there's more options than sending DeMar Hamlin out into the field every week. Cole Bishop's your second round pick, so I understand that you feel like you have to massage that into becoming something that's fruitful. I understand the thought process behind that because you don't want another you don't want another Kyrie Elam on your hands. You don't want another who was that? Terrible offensive lineman. I can't think of his name right now. Just horrible offensive lineman though. We couldn't. We had him. Got rid of him immediately, because he was terrible. And I'm not even talking about Wyatt Teller. I'm talking about the other one. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. I like Cole Bishop over Hamlin too. I like Cole Bishop because he's young, so I can justify his mistakes in my head. I can justify his lack of experience and everything that goes with that in my head. DeMar Hamlin, look, respect to all players. I'm not trying to sit here and be mean. DeMar Hamlin don't have it. He's not a starting safety on a championship defense. I don't necessarily know that he's a starting safety, period, but that may be disrespectful. I maybe don't know what the realm of safeties look like, the scope of the safeties look like across the league. Maybe I'm ignorant, but I know that DeMar Hamlin ain't working out here in terms of being the starter. And it is disappointing because you would have loved for him to be a great story. Unless it's Eric Waddell, I'm not drafting a safety out of Utah. Well, you don't know. You didn't know Eric Waddell would be Eric Waddell until Eric Waddell was where Eric Waddell. You know what I mean? So, remember Justin Jefferson went in the mid round of the year that we traded for Diggs. Became the best receiver in the league almost immediately. Sometimes you just don't know until you know. Micah Parsons was a mid-round first rounder. I don't even remember where Puka Nacua went. I don't think he was a first rounder at all. I think he was a late rounder. Some people just develop, like Christian Benford. He was a sixth rounder. He kind of playing like it now, but at the point he was a dog. I'm not gonna lie. Let me not diss Christian. I like Christian Benford. I do think he's talented. I just think that his safeties maybe are just putting him in a bad position. I'm gonna watch the tape. And we're going to come back with you guys for a deep dive later in the week. I don't know what happened to Muki, but I hope he's having a good night. And I know that you guys want to go back and watch the Chiefs game because we started this at halftime when the Chiefs were winning 14-7. I don't know what the hell happened, but somehow the Jaguars are now winning. And I know you all want to watch the game, and so do I. So you guys have a good night. Do good, be good. Go Bills. Shout out to all of you guys. We appreciate every single comment, like, subscription, retweet, repost, share, bookmark, all the support you guys give us. We appreciate all of it. So for Muki, I'm Justus General. We are out. Go Bills.